I always say that my father's death was my initiation into this work. Yeah, he passed. It's going to be 12 years in April. And the ability to be with him in this intimate way, on his death journey, that was, it was about a month that he was, going from hospital to hospital. And I was able to experience the sacredness and the beauty in the same way that I experienced in the birthing room when I gave birth to my children. So there was something in that slowing down and in all of the ways that I was able to create the boundaries to be able to be with him, to not get poked and prod when it wasn't what was needed anymore. And how empowering that felt, and how beautiful and sacred that it felt. So I just felt like if I was able to survive that, there was like a knowing, the same way that, again, I will always, like, my birth and death work are very intimately connected. They're so close to each other, those two portals, right? So there is this familiarity. So I just felt like there was this ability to create the sacred, to bring in the music, to bring in the readings, to bring in the prayers, that I said, if I could do this here, I want to do this with others. I think part of my work and part of what I'm like really devoted to is the normalizing of talking about death, of like being close to it, of it's part of the life cycle, So I think the more that we talk about it and normalize it, the better we will be at supporting each other through it. And it has absolutely deepened, like I said, my papa's death was my initiatory experience. And I experienced such beauty, in that stillness, and even though he was unconscious, to be able to see, like, notice some of the freckles that I hadn't noticed before, he was so busy. He was just always, he was always like on the run from one thing to another. And I'm like, I got to experience him for the first time in stillness, which made me sad, but also allowed me to just really sit in the beauty of who he is and who he was. And I began to look for myself in him.
I can share a personal story with that. When my mother passed, I remember that night I was laying in the room with her and spent the night with her. And I was listening to her breathing, because as somebody's dying, their breathing is changing. And yet for the first half of the night, it was very consistent. And then I remember at 5:30 a.m. waking up because it changed her breathing. And I remember going over and putting my head to her chest and just hearing her heartbeat slow and slowing down. And I went and grabbed my sisters and my brother and brought them into the room. And it was just this really a moment that sometimes it never happens, to be at somebody, the honor of being with somebody and hearing their heart stop. It's a really powerful and crazy moment. It's something that doesn't normally happen. And so I just felt really compelled to sing. And so I sang this song. My family, we grew up, this song is called I Can Only Imagine. And it's a song my sisters love, and it's based in Christian roots. And it was just one of the most beautiful ways I felt I could honor my mother and my sisters and my brother in that passing. And so we just sat there and sang for a long time with her as her heart stopped. And even after it stopped, we just kept singing. And there's this quote, and I remember, but in the dark times, well, they'll be singing. And so it's what the arts have done in my life personally is in some of the darkest times, to bring in singing was such a gift, or to bring in dance when I was struggling, to bring in movement, and then now to create those spaces for other people and see the impact of that. It's holding those two truths again, the truth that I'm sad and grieving, one of the biggest losses of my life. And yet I can also sing and remember the beauty and the joy of everything that has come before. And even in that moment of being surrounded with those that I love, and to hold my mother in this way. So it's that holding those two pieces together. And the arts are the conduit for that. They're the bridge that allow us to feel and allow us to tell the truth about how we feel in the moment.